Hello and welcome once again to Nerf Check or whatever the hell we're called this week. Uh, it's me once again, but this time I actually have the good-looking one of the group, the guy everybody wants to hear all the good things from. The man that actually wins tournaments and does his things, Mr. John McCreevy, yet again. My co-host of all. We're gonna get rid of this Ray guy at some point in time, aren't we?
No, definitely not. We need Ray.
Somebody's got to do all the stuff in the background.
Somebody's got to actually do the work. Yeah, we're just here to make word sounds with our mouth, and Ray puts it together into the actual package that tens of people watch.
Ones of people, maybe. I'm not entirely sure.
I think we're up to tens. So
I think we're up to tens.
Upward progress.
Cool. All right. Well, that's all on Justin. So this time around, we had Justin on. Now we're stuck with just you and me. So we have a little get-together coming on Saturday. For some reason, my wife is taking off for a day, and I decided to invite over most of the Northeast.
Yeah. So why don't you tell us more about what you got planned for us on Saturday?
Well, I'm hoping it'll be a nice day, and we'll have somewhere around 6 to 7 tables set up, if we're lucky and actually have enough toppers for all of this stuff. It's getting there. I actually bought a new table just last night.
Oh, fancy!
To make sure we've got a few going. Yeah. Hey, there you go. I'm gonna do a barbecue and a little bit of Masters prep because somehow I made it on the team. Unlike you there, buddy boy, who has made it every year for like the last 5 years solid or something dumb like that. So
not that many. I've only a couple years, but this is my first year actually attending, so it's gonna be a fun year to go down with all my buddies and have a good time down there.
I can't wait. The only thing I want to do other than play games while we're down there is get a picture in front of the Washington Monument because I just think it's funny. I mean, Canadians are going down to the White House. What could go wrong?
I'm sure it'll be fine. Nothing bad's ever happened before. It'll be fine. Yeah.
No, that's right. That's right. Oh, so with all of that happening, I figured we got a bunch of the Murder Garage guys out. Get a few practice games in, have a laugh, have a burger, maybe a drink or two, and see what happens.
So what else you got planned? You got scenarios picked out? You got maps picked out?
You've been, oh my God!
Trying to fish for what's going to happen? Like,
you'll be lucky if I'm wearing pants at this point in time.
I mean, is that lucky or unlucky for us? It's
No, I'm pretty sure that we're going to have to play Stockpile because God help us for playing Stockpile because I'm sure it's going to be on there. And then
you are the worst host.
I'm going to randomly put it in. I don't know about. I would like everybody to play on the clock, but I'm not sure that we're even going to bother for most of the time. It's just kind of going to be a good day is more or less what I'm hoping for. So I figured I'd ruin it by making everybody play Stockpile.
That sounds about right. And I'm sure it's going to randomly show up first round. Yeah.
Randomly, completely random, because that's the way these things happen, isn't it?
That's how we do things. Yeah. Randomly, it's first round. Yeah.
Well, I mean, we've got igloos out here, right? We live up here in Canada, and it's nothing but igloos and polar bears, and we'll be catered by penguins and stuff like that might happen.
That's the only way I want it to be. So
yeah, these are all virtual backgrounds. Really, it's just a whole bunch of igloos.
So what's the deal? We're gonna do round robin style on Saturday, or are you gonna have like knockout grid? What do you want to do here?
So far, I think we have 11 or 12 on the way, depending on maybe a secret guest showing up. Ooh, we don't know yet. Nathan has a little game that may or may not involve pinning the hair on somebody's skull. So that might be kind of fun.
There might be a lot of targets, though. That could be a tricky game.
I can't believe what he's done. Just wait. It's Nathan. You know these things go a little bit weird.
Well, I'm sure.
Yeah. With him coming up with Orktown and some of that stuff, we all need a bit of practice, and we're a little sparse on the tournament scene at the moment. And then it's going to explode one more time, and there's going to be 15 in the course of like 2.5 weeks.
There's a lot of stuff coming up.
Yeah, there is. So I will be probably running the worst faction that ever got redone on Saturday. Yet again, Trident Realms trying to prove that I'm completely wrong and it's actually decent.
You're just a sucker for punishment. We all know that.
I have no clue. It's still my favorite faction. It still looks.
Because they still play fine. We've talked, like, they took away the crutch of
I
Pathfinder
know.
for the Thule.
I'm not going to bitch
You'll
and whine
survive. You'll
yeah.
survive.
But, they're garbage. So, I mean, who wins with garbage? I wonder who.
I do all the time. Constantly.
You're starting to run down some of these things. But the only thing you haven't tried yet is dwarves. And I think you avoided them because they got better.
Well, yes and no. My little brother also is a very steadfast dwarf player, and at the time we had a pile of dwarves in the meta, so it didn't make sense just to shift into more dwarves, which I think we had 6 dwarves at one of our tournaments, which is a third of the field
at least
almost. Yeah. So that's a lot of dwarves for people to wade through.
Yeah,
I mean, they're short, so you can step over most of them, but it's still a lot of dwarves.
Unfortunately, the people that were playing them weren't short.
That's true. It's true. No, speaking of playing with garbage, that's how I built my current list. So sometimes when you build a list, you have an idea for what you want it to do, and you're like, I'm going to build around that. And sometimes you look at models that you haven't played in years that are your elves getting dusty on the shelf, and you think, you know what? How could these work? And it's not as elves.
Because we're talking about garbage, not trash.
Right. So I waded through the army lists and found that most of my units could port over to Kingdoms of Men and built a list around garbage. So very soon, we are going to do this again, and we're going to pick your brain on how the hell you come up with some of this shit. Because, my God, Jesus Christ, I have played this against this army 3 times and still not won. Correct.
Including a round 7 that kind of it crushed my soul at one point in time.
Yep, that's all very accurate. It's for all the practice games, it's actually played really well. The game one of the games I had with you was the closest it came, and it was still a narrow win, but still felt pretty good the whole game. So it's I don't know. Kingdoms of Men they're doing it right now. It's weird. It doesn't feel right, but it's working. So,
and you're doing one of the things where there is a lot of infantry in this thing, so it's nice to see.
There's 3 regiments of garbage Kingdoms of Men bowmen, 2 hordes of their just militia, which are terrible.
Oh my God, it's so bad.
But then it's offset by Beast Cav, which got a nice bonus and are really good. They're expensive, but they're worth it. And 3 generals, which are one of the best flying monsters. And after playing all these practice games, we've realized that I don't have wizards on Pegasus. I have apprentice children strapped to the Pegasus because I didn't give them any spells. And their job is to bravely get in the way.
Every time you say that, my head goes to Monty Python and the song "Every Sperm Is Sacred," where they send the children off to the mines. For some reason, I don't know why, and that's
everybody's got a job. Everybody's got a job.
I don't even know how the hell you came up with this thing, but my God, that gone, just the units of bowmen with those.
And 3 bolt throwers.
Yeah. I was going to say the hitting on floors bolt throwers that for how long did we, the first 3 games?
I thought they hit on 5s for the first 3 or 4 games because I
36 inches instead of 48. And
definitely played them as 36 inches. Yeah.
And you still won the damn games. It was hilarious.
Oh yeah. It's a garbage list, but all the garbage synchronizes really well and becomes like a super garbage monster, and it just works.
You have 1 magic item in this army too.
Yeah, the Blade of Slashing, and I've used it twice because I just forget it's always there until the end of the game, and then even then, after I announce it with victorious glee that I have it, I often still forget to actually roll it. So
I still think you should just turn it into the Staying Stone just to see if it'll keep the guy alive a little bit longer. But hey, what do I know?
No, because I won't remember that either. So
no, probably not. Probably not. You know what else you seem to forget a lot? The best rule in the game.
Indomitable Will.
Indomitable Will.
I think my last 2 games I played with it, I totally forgot anybody had it and just played
Yeah.
without it.
Yeah, I think we had a little double game here just a couple of weeks ago, right? We played with
Forgot about it for both those games.
yeah. Yeah, and you played me with one, and I think on the final round you said to me that Dominable Will, and I was
oh
like,
yeah, I could have done
what's
that.
that?
Yeah, that would
Yeah.
have been great.
It's funny how you say this the entire army is trash, and then they have this rule that just sort of makes them
No,
like,
not the entire army. It's an army built on garbage with 6 good units tucked into the 17 units that are there.
oh my god.
That's it.
Yeah, this is a goblin style Kingdoms of Men army that I still
big time.
I can't I don't even know how you ended up on Kingdoms of Men. I really don't.
Because you can't do it with elves. Elves are too expensive for everything, and it's just I wanted to play my elves again, so now they're hiding as Kingdoms of Men.
Yeah,
So
well, yeah, it is a gorgeous army. I will tell you, people that like it is fantastic to look at. Between that and your mustache, how can you look away? It's just
it's all part of the plan.
Well, since we're talking about garbage and your Kingdoms of Men list and all the rest of this, should we think? Well, we keep mentioning elves, and I know both of us kind of think that they're absolute trash at this point in time, but
they're not absolute trash. They're just in a more difficult to use spot than they probably could be.
So is it the fact that they're just that? I'm not sure on how to word this. You played elves for a hell of a long time. If you just decided that this is just the easier, better way, and it's a hell of a lot more fun, or was it just that I can't figure out a good enough list to play with elves, and this still looks like fun?
They just became very uphill. So they changed the archers to make them not good, and then they made them tolerable, and then they made them not good again, and now they're worse again. So you don't have any reasonably priced, reasonable unlocks. Like, I don't need the cheapest unlock for elves. I don't need the like best, most economical unlock for elves, but they just your main unlocks you could take are Palace Guard or they're not Glade Stalkers. The
the Sea Guard.
Well, the Sea Guard, and then the fancy shoot bowmen. I forget what they're called already. I haven't played them in so long.
Damn.
Glade Stalkers. Yeah, the Glade Stalkers.
Glade Stalkers. Okay, yeah.
Yeah. They're really expensive. So you can only take a few. You end up with a very low drop list. It's very fragile, just like it always was.
Yeah.
And then the changes that they gave them, like their standard bearer, are not good.
No.
They didn't really get any sort of benefit in the last update. So they're still just kind of in a very medium place for me where you can play more fun lists with a lot less fragility and more redundancy built into them than you can get with elves at the moment. Unless you take 4 dragons.
Well, we all know that 3 dragons is not enough. This has been proven by somebody who was that guy. And you were all right. I needed a 4th dragon.
Yep.
And yes, I could have fit it into a 2,300 point list.
Absolutely, you can. Yeah.
Yep, you totally can. Unfortunately, still not as good as a Kingdoms of Men guy and a large beast that can just come in, and sure, it's only 7 attacks, but he just doesn't bloody die, does he?
Nope. And he's a 50 mil base. He can get a lot of places. He's a fun character to move around the board right now.
Yeah, I really think that the 50 mil is still a lot better than that 75. It just
in a lot of ways. Not in every way, but in a lot of ways, it's a much more maneuverable flying piece. Yeah.
So with the militia that you're taking, with the militia that you're taking, I mean, obviously you're doing it just for the memes and all the rest of that good stuff.
No, just for the bodies. It's just for bodies. Their job is generally to die. They don't unlock. They're irregular.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
They are just bodies. So the first draft of this list had 2 troops of like shooty cav to like support and give some extra shots and maybe get around some places. But then you're relying on the archers to carry tokens. So I was looking, I'm like, what can I get that can push tokens. Like Foot Guard are expensive. They're good, but they're expensive. I'm like, oh, they got this militia unit. What is this? It's 100-point horde. It's like, I obviously need 2 of those. Their defense 3, their melee 5, their only speed 5, their nerve is like 18-21. So it's got a wide, low spread for like a horde, but they just do their job. They get in the way, they hold you up for a couple turns, they carry tokens around the board, they push unit strength in for dominate.
And
stockpile, they just get in the way.
Yeah. They surprisingly withstand a hit from things that it shouldn't 9 times.
They can take a single punch from almost anything.
Yeah.
2 punches, probably not. But a single punch, most times.
I thought they held something up against Mike that was just like, why the hell did this stick around?
Oh, it totally did. I think we fought for like 2 or 3 turns against his ensnarers, which they should have won far earlier than that, and they just couldn't get through it. I think he had Brew of Strength as well, so he's wounding on 2s. Like
one of them does, yeah.
Should have been a done deal, but we just stood around doing stuff for a while. It was weird, but it worked.
Yeah. Well, what about this? These children on Pegasus that you've strapped down and given a lollipop to, so they can like fly around up.
Yep. Alex was the first one to do it around here with League of Rordia, but his, I don't know if he had spells on his so they could like contribute as well. Mine are just straight up 60-point trash. They got one job. They get in the way. They have held up troll heroes for 2 or 3 turns when they shouldn't. They just get in the way. You can use them to limit combo charges. You can use them to they're height 4, so you just fly them in front of other stuff and nobody can see past them.
I mean, I hope you don't mind giving away all your secrets here, but Jesus,
I don't care.
Height 4, like
height 4.
Like, oh,
a good trick I did the other game is I flew one of the wizards up and then parked a general exactly behind it, so nobody could charge a general, but the general's height 5 and can see over the dumb wizard. So then the next turn he got to go off and do whatever he wanted. It's great.
Yep. Yeah. Oh my God, I hate that so much.
Yeah.
So, how many units actually do have the indomitable will in that army? Is it? It's 6
I think
7?
only the Beast Cav. I think those are the only ones that could take it, even in that army. I would have to double check because, as we've talked about, I don't know what my units have.
Which is hilarious, the fact that you are still not just winning games, but you're like, it's daunting when you put down all that stuff and then you're still sitting there with these 4 drops, and it's normally all 4 or 5 or 9.
I hold back the Beast Cav and a couple of the generals every time because it's hilarious.
And those bloody bolt throwers do just enough damage throughout the entire game to be like just good enough.
No, they don't. Sometimes they do damage. Sometimes they do absolute jack shit. But there's also always the possibility that they might. So, and if they might, you got to be careful, and you can't just like ignore them because they might. They might pop off and do 7 wounds each to something, and then you lose a unit. Or like last game, they might do a total of 3 wounds across the entire game.
Yeah,
it's just how it goes.
Yep.
So yeah, only the Beast Cav have the Indomitable Will because that is literally the only units that are eligible for it in this list.
Oh, there you go.
Yep.
For some reason, I thought something else had it as well, but
No, the General and Winged Beast are very inspiring, which is handy.
Yes.
But that's it. Nobody else has anything.
You would think that at least the wizards would like come with a spell or something, but we don't do that shit anymore.
They don't even they changed all the rules for wizards like last edition, where wizards don't come with spells anymore. You have to buy them all, so I just didn't buy any. So it makes him a 65-point height 4, like he's cheaper than a regular Pegasus.
The best is just the fact that it does everything you want it to do, like you said, out of a Pegasus, but it does it better and for less bloody points.
Like, I think a regular Pegasus gets 3 attacks or something and probably is reasonable in combat. That's not what these guys are for. Like, I'm not fighting with these guys. I got generals for that. These guys just want to, like, die.
These are the things that we throw in front of the stuff and go, hey, do you want...
Oh, yeah. A regular Pegasus is
lollipop?
way better at fighting. So a regular Pegasus is melee 3 with Pathfinder and Thunder 1.
Jeez.
I have none of that.
None of that.
Yeah. No.
The height 3 to height 4, though, I mean, that really does make a difference in your list. Like, it really does stop people from being able to take shots at certain things.
Well, the height 4 just makes it work as chaff. So you can just stop people from seeing stuff, because Beast Cav are height 4, so you can't see them over the child on a Pegasus, but they can see around it usually and see you, where if I fly them right up in front of you, you can't see anything. You're just looking at this kid on a Pegasus and you're like, well, I guess I have to murder a child now. So I hope everyone feels bad when they play them. It's like, I want you to understand, you're murdering like apprentice wizards that are their children. So
I so hope you put like hobbits or something on, or I should say halflings on a bunch of Pegasus and like show
I think I asked Nathan to print me child models to go on the models I'm going to use, because like, I want you to understand, you're committing child murder. So like, if you want to take that juicy flank charge that's right in front of you and really murder a child,
I did.
You're a bad person. So
I'm a terrible, terrible person. That's why I don't put my name up on here. I put up what everybody should call me, and that's it.
Well, it is fitting. So
it's kind of Is there any other units that, like, I'm kind of racking my brain here, like of trash units that other people might be able to use in their armies? I mean, the one that comes to mind off the top of my head is the Dwarf Clansman for Northern Alliance at 115 points. Those things are ridiculously good for what they are, but they are dirt cheap, like ridiculously dirt cheap.
Both those things, I really like them in Northern Alliance. Michael Hay uses them all the time, and they take more effort than they should to get rid of, because they're defense 5. They got good nerve. They don't always fight back really well, but you got to like overcommit to kill them. So I have looked at lists with multiple Dwarf Clansman regiments, and you just spam those out there. So everybody's got to chew through all these little dwarves that are slowly working their way up the battlefield. And you can give them forced march with the standard bearer now in Northern Alliance, which makes them a little bit quicker and a little bit better at doing stuff. So there is a possibility that you could use those to good effect.
I'm pretty sure, didn't somebody win a tournament like that? But I think me and Nathan and Mike on the way back from Crossroads, we're talking about doing something with like 10 units of Dwarf Clansmen and a couple of giants, which is just hilarious.
It would work.
And
the Clansmen actually come with ordered march, so they can just do that extra pivot no matter what, because I guess all dwarves get it everywhere, no matter who they are. So
I mean, I was trying to think of some other things, like even like not Palace Guard. What are the Shield Guard or whatever the hell they were called for? Those are gone from elves.
For elves? No, they still have this. They rolled the Shield Watch and Palace Guard together.
Oh, that's right.
And still left the terrible Kinsman Warriors that are terrible.
Yeah.
But they're too expensive. So when you try to use them as like whatever you want to try to get out of them, like try to use the Kindred Warriors as unlocks, they're still expensive. They're still 120 for a regiment that's squishy at defense 4. They only get elite melee, and they only have 12 attacks. You can take a horde, but that's 200 points, where a horde of Palace Guard is 265 for a significant improvement in defense, nerve, and just ability.
So we're not doing anything here that's going to be like, whoa, nobody's thought about this before. But obviously, I think the garbage units really going to come out of people like, Goblins, Kingdom's Men, Abyssals, Night Stalkers, that sort of thing.
Abyssals could do it. Night Stalkers as well, actually. I was looking at some fun garbage units in Night Stalkers before. Do I still have that open? No. But Abyssals, the The ghouls, abyssal ghouls. I've played around with lists with just using piles of abyssal ghouls to unlock and that kind of stuff. Let's grab them. Forces of the Abyss. Yeah, abyssal ghouls are speed 5. You can take a horde of them for 150 points.
There we go.
Right? Like, that's cheap. They unlock, so you get a pile of unlocks out of that. Even regiments of them are only 90 points. So you can get a pile of value out of it. They're melee 5, which is terrible, but they do have fury, so they will just keep fighting.
Keep going. Yeah.
Do
they have regen or don't they have regen?
They don't. They're gonna die. They got nothing to keep them alive. All they have is fury. Their defense 4 though, which is a step up from the Kingdoms of Men guys that I'm using right now. But even lower abyssals are cheap, and they do get regen. So they're looking like they could have some plays. Like if you want to build a list with garbage and with some kind of punch to go with it, Forces of Abyss can do it. They've also got fun monsters like the Archfiends, what's it called? The just regular fiends, Cronius. Yeah, they got some good stuff there.
Yeah,
other ones.
I don't really want you to be looking at this.
No, I've considered. I just don't have anything painted that would work for abyssals. There's only so far I'll stretch what a model is versus what I'm saying it is today.
Maybe you and I are. Maybe I have half of your stuff that could be abyssals.
That is also true. Night Stalkers can do it with scarecrows. Scarecrows are hilarious for garbage unlocks, right?
I have used them for doing that as well. Like I can't remember what the points are for a horde, but it's dumb. Like it is
180. Sorry, that's a legion. A legion is 180 points. A horde is 125 at -21 nerve.
Yeah, and still gets all the unlocks, and can still. I think the guy can give him vicious, and you can give him Bane Chant. Yep. I've got all these things, and
they're Mind Thirst, Stealthy, and Wild Charge D3. So, I
mean, we don't normally. Well, hell, we haven't done a lot of these things anyway. But Mind Thirst, I think, is an underutilized ability of the game. I really like that. The fact that you just walk around.
I like that it's restricted to the one army. I think if it was around too many places, it would dilute its value.
True. I mean, it would be nice, like Elite being just on the elves, but technically 2 sets of elves. But like Vicious is just Abyssal Dwarves. I mean, it used to be Abyssal Dwarves, and Twilight can have kind of sort of gone away with that, except for all of their shenanigans that go along with
Twilight Kin got all the rules. We're gonna ignore Twilight Kin. They have all the rules. It's just that's a whole different episode.
To say the least, well, at least they didn't get any garbage units that they could like spam or something like that. That were really good and fast. And
that's a whole different. Anyways, other fun ones for like building around garbage that I've actually built some fun looking lists for is Empire of Dust.
I was going to ask if you've done this sort of thing yet, because this kind of terrifies me just a little bit. Like,
Empire of Dust, you can use Skeleton Warriors, and you can pump out hordes of them for 140 points. They also now can get Scout. So for 145 points, they can Scout.
Wait a minute, it's 5 points for the Scout on a
5 points. Jesus on a horde, yeah.
Like, shouldn't it
145 points? Nope, it's 5. Just 5. They get life leech 1. They're shambling, which everybody knows that. But -22, you can scoot them up the board to the 20-inch board or 20-inch mark, and then they're contending in almost all the scenarios. They can easily reach anything that comes up at that point. Yeah, you pile a bunch of those, and then you pile a bunch of monsters in, like bone giants and all sorts of fun stuff. And I actually have played a list from Empire of Dust with the bone worms, so the bone dragons, and they are hilarious. They're kind of like an air elemental. They're a bit bigger and a bit trickier to use, but kind of the same effect.
Kind of completely the same effect? Like
pretty close. Yep.
Jesus. Yeah. Them undead. It seems like all the evil armies get all the cheap stuff, right?
It does feel that way a lot of the time.
including Kings of Men, because they're definitely evil if you're playing them.
Well, yeah, people are the worst. Like, humans are the worst.
Well, this is true. I mean, give us a planet, we'll ruin it. That's the way we do this.
Like, humans are the worst. Now, Basilia, no, even their regular like garbage swordsmen are 175 points. You're getting up there in terms of garbage points. Yeah. And then you want to fall for the trap of the fragment and the upgrading their waver and nerve values, which, to be honest, I wouldn't do, because most of my armies are built around garbage, or siege breakers, one of the two.
I was going to say that isn't completely true.
That one is the polar opposite of this one. Yeah,
that one definitely is the polar opposite of that. I mean, I've been playing a bunch of Basilia armies and trying to get that thing to kind of work the way I want it to. And 12, 14 drops. I mean, that's part of the reason why your Kingdoms of Men is just so damn good. Having the extra drops is.
That's why I can't. That's why I can't take any items, because I need. Part of why the list works is because I can put my important stuff wherever I want to directly counter whatever I want them to counter for you. Now, it could be that I want to ignore all your stuff that's going to come try to punch mine and just let it punch my garbage units and go around the other way, or I might want to fight them directly with speed 10 units that usually get the first punch.
So that begs the question: do you normally go into a game with like a game plan of how you're going to be setting up anyway? Because we've had these discussions before about like the scrying gem and that sort of thing, where
if I could fit the scrying gem, I would. That's the only thing I would take in addition to how this list is built, is the scrying gem, just to make it rude.
I mean, the argument's always been, you're going to set up an army, in X sort of thing regardless, whereas I think I'm more of a reactionary deployer than I am. I do this all the time, even though a lot of my deployments end up looking the same. Like, does having those extra ones, was that sort of built into the army to make sure that you had that as an option? So that's why I'm asking. Yeah.
Yeah. So this army works because I get to directly counter you. That being said, I have a deployment plan based on how I'm going to win this scenario. I don't really care how you deploy with this list, because I can deploy my hitting stuff at the end, and it can usually be in a spot where it's going to cause problems or chaos, or just frustrate my opponent, especially in the first couple turns where they're like, oh no, you put that way over there, what am I going to do, where's it going to go, how it's going to get me somewhere, and you start thinking about that instead of thinking about the scenario win, which is how all the games are won. So I deploy based on the scenario and how I want to win the scenario.
Oh, okay.
I played Dominate with this list recently, and it shouldn't shock anyone, but I put my hordes of garbage directly on the center of the board, so that all they had to do was one move and they're scoring.
Never heard of anybody doing this
it's
ever.
Crazy. It was crazy. I know.
It's nuts.
And then I had my archers on a flank tipped in so that they could pivot less times to get into the middle of the board.
Mm-hmm.
Well, so with all these flying units, like I know I've said this a few times, where I would love to get into a big deep dive on flying units, because you're the guy here that shockingly takes 3 to 5 flyers all the goddamn time. People always shock me.
Many times as I can. Yep.
So is it just the mobility of a flying unit that you like? I know why I take flyers, but like, is it the mobility and just the versatility, or is it the units that are in that army just seem to like mold better to a flying unit? Like, I know with your Sylvankin, when you took air elementals and that, it was more saber rattling. It was more like, oh, I might be able to get into your flank over here and that sort of thing. But at the same time, playing against your elves, which had a lot of the Draken Riders and that sort of, they were kind of specific. So is that like in and out of the army, or is that just flyers in general for you?
I like playing flyers. I like the psychological terror that they bring, because they can get a lot of places that you're like, oh, I didn't think you were going to fly over that mountain and then turn and look at all of my flanks.
Yeah.
Right. Or even they charge 20 inches. So it's a threat range that has to be respected. And you can use that to kind of control the flow of the game and the pace of the game, and even where people deploy.
Yeah.
So building around that is why I like playing them. And a lot of the time they're good punchy units, which, if you're going to fight, you might as well take something that's good at fighting.
So if you were to just to kind of branch off for a little bit, if you were to change the way that a dragon works, like is there one certain change that you would do? I mean, I've long said that I still think there should be 12 attacks, and everybody looks at me like I've got 6 heads, and they may or may not be right. But like what would, if you were to bring like the larger flyers back in, like the dragons and that, because I kind of miss seeing them on the tables. Part of the reason why I played that 3 dragon list was the fact that we hadn't seen anything like that in the longest time, probably since you played that one list that was terrifying. And
It had
I still have nightmares about that one.
2 big dragons and 3 Draken Lords and 2 units of Drakens.
Yep.
So just a few flyers.
Just a few.
It's fine. Yeah.
If you were to try and change those bigger ones, like the chimeras and the dragons and that sort of thing, is there any one thing that you think that you might think about for that?
More attacks would help, because right now they don't do enough on their own, and most of the time they end up stranded on their own in a game anyways, because they outpace most other things, unless you're playing a flyer list, in which case a 300-point dragon that you're only going to get 7 hits out of, even with an elite dragon, you might as well take something cheaper. Or take 2 Lords on Draken, so at least they can be 2 places and score 2 zones at the same time. Is
there an army that you think has like the best set of flyers? I mean, Basilia would be up there, especially with the fact that, with the angels and that sort of thing. And that's an entire, again, a separate conversation altogether, with the fact that why is the Aloha hero like 200 points? It kind of drives me a little.
Because he's really good.
He's really good. I want him to be cheaper.
No.
Yeah.
No, he's really good. But you don't see him very often because he is 200 points, and you can get more stuff for that 200 points that you want in a Basilia list.
So do you think like flyers maybe a little over, like right now, I don't think they are overcosted. I just think maybe a little underutilized.
I think they're fine.
Yeah. What about like flying heroes and that sort of thing? Just like a guy with the boots of the honey maze. I mean, you and I have both been terrorized by Mike and his elf of doom that charges 23 inches and cuts everybody to shreds.
So I use the same thing in my Northern Alliance list.
Yeah.
So I have the same Ice Blade with the duelist, and art starts at like 6 or 7 attacks. And yeah, I use the same thing with Wings of Honey Maze. It's less utilized now because not a lot of people are playing shooters, so you have less good like disruption targets. Most of the meta that we play in, there aren't great targets for a single character to fly 23 inches and pin down. Most of the time you're throwing it away to get a turn's worth of delay at best. But previously, when there were more shooting lists, it was hilarious. Because you just fly that thing across the table and you hold down a unit of shooting, and you sometimes just kill the unit of shooting with that one character.
Yeah, the dwarf king with the Wings of the Honey Maze was a standard every bloody player.
Well, he was before they changed it, and you just paid the 50 points to get the wings, and you got to keep your defense 6 with your Iron Resolve, and he just flew up and you could never get rid of him. He would hold down a horde of my elf archers all the time, constantly.
Pretty much. I mean, hell, he did it to me a bunch of times. Well, your brother doing that.
Oh yeah, he did it to me all the time. So I would just pick a unit and kind of shove it towards his king and be like, "This is the one you get to fight for the rest of the game." So you just give up one unit of shooting. So.
Oh God. Well, I'm trying to think. I had a train of thought, but as normal, it's just been derailed a few times over on these things. No, damn it. That was that's great podcasting, isn't it? Jesus. I mean, thank God we don't get paid for this.
Yeah,
that happened.
Definitely not worth any money. So
with the ton of flyers and everything else, and you not caring about deployment, but your bolt throwers.
Mm-hmm.
These terrifying things that only hit on 4s, which I think should only hit on 5s for you from now on, because Why not?
We'll see if I remember if they hit on fours. I don't remember Indomitable Will, so I'm sure I'll forget they hit on fours as well.
So you took 3 of them mostly just to make sure that they actually do the work, or was that mostly for
Cheapest way to get to 17 drops.
the cheapest way to get 17 drop?
And then they combo with the flyers because even when I thought it was only 36 inches, that was 36-inch of board coverage that you can just deploy them first. And say, if you deploy anything in front of them, I'm going to get 2 to 3 turns of shooting.
Yep. Bloody hell. I hate
And if you cover the open area in the center of the board, which turns up on a lot of maps, that's where most games happen, is in the middle of the board. So I'm going to get to dump shots into the middle. And if it's dominating and you're just standing there, I'll just keep shooting you.
Well, with the trash list that you're playing, the fact that, I mean, most people would give their left arm just to like make sure they're always hitting on 3s with everything that they're going in on. Whereas this list that you've got, most of the stuff is, most of your shots are hitting on like 5s and 4s.
Oh, yeah,
and
it's not good.
I think a lot of times you were shooting on my stealth stuff, so it was like, so it's
half dice on 6s a lot of the time, and they don't have steady aim. So if you move them at all, they take a penalty. Like, yeah, they're not good at shooting, but it's just enough shooting that it'll pick up soft units.
Is that something that you've like? Have you missed hitting on the 3s and the easier like things to hit on and the better combat units? Have you missed any of that?
Of course. I used to play Glade Stalkers. They're steady aim, elite hit on 4s with shooting and stealthy back. Like, they were wild. Like, they're way better. But they're significantly more points.
I really hated the fact that I had the red elf list with Seaguard instead of the bloody Glade Stalkers, and tried it. It was like, I just can't.
Because it's not as good. They're the best like infantry shooting unit currently, probably. Other than Decimator Hordes. Decimator Hordes are terrifying for my list. Because I can't charge them first, except if I charge with my flying stuff. And then you probably should have flank charges set up to make me pay for it. And if they get to my Militia Hordes, 25 shots on 4s and piercing 1 will just ruin them.
See, that's an army that I did play. Finished last in every tournament I played with them. I think my tournament record with them was 110 and 110.
I don't think that's the army's fault.
Well, I mean, I'm going to blame the army because, it's me. And I think it's time to blame the army instead.
Maybe you should bring them out again. Play them at Masters.
I sold all of it away.
Oh, I'm sure you could get some. Play them at Masters.
I'm pretty sure I can get the whole damn thing back again.
Play them at Masters. Play Abyssal Dwarves at Masters. I think you
should. I would, except a very nice set of friends of mine may or may not be doing
No. Year of the Underdogs. I'll take Kings of Men. You take Abyssal Dwarves. Yeah.
Oh, I kind of do now. But are they the underdogs now? I mean, at Lone Wolf, wasn't there like 6 of them at Lone Wolf? I don't know I went back and I watched I was watching some of the matchups, and I expected it to be all Twilightkin all day, but I think Lone Wolf was something like six Abyssal Abyssal Dwarves and the Twilightkin.
Abyssal Dwarves are a reasonable counter to Twilightkin in many ways. But I think Twilightkin, you just have to ignore the fact that they have long threat ranges and that they got all the crazy bullshit piled up on them. And if you just get to them first and just kill them, they can't fight back if they're dead. If you let them pick you apart with weakness and little chip shooting, and then they're moving a little bit up this way and moving a little bit over that way, and then the mutants charge you, just try to charge them first.
You did kill my Chimera with just a guy with weakness and
yeah. I know. I totally.
That was hilarious. He went from 0 to definitely not hero, dead hero in just a few turns. That was terrifying, like absolutely terrifying.
But I mean, to be fair, you hung him out in the middle of nowhere. You didn't even put him in cover. No, he wasn't. He was adjacent to the forest. He could have been in the forest or behind the forest, and instead he was adjacent. So
you did roll an 11 and a 12 on the nerve checks, wavering the living shit out of the guy a couple of times.
Yeah, but that's what I do. So you have to plan around that.
it is amazing to watch you roll dice because it all happens with the mustache. They just like
Yeah.
whip them forward every single time. You just don't expect it. It's one of these things.
Well, and on the rolls that don't matter, that's when I roll my like snake eyes and my 3s and my 4s, and on the rolls when I do matter, it comes out. You just got to believe in your dice, Ben, and then you got to give them a break when you don't need them.
Well, we have determined that all dice hate me, and
because you're not nice to any of them, so they talk, and now they all know.
I am a soulless human being. Yes, I am. But dice, especially, I don't know what I did. I don't know if when I was a child I swallowed a couple. I don't know what it was. I don't know if maybe I met a younger dice at a younger time and I punched him in the face or something. And ever since, I've never been able to get anything going. But
it's a mystery we'll never solve.
People, the fact that you gave me
I give you dice that work fine.
You gave me dice. They worked through one turn, and I did really well. All I got to do is roll average. It was fantastic.
Yeah.
And then they got to know me, and the dice hate me.
Yeah. So it's definitely you.
It's definitely me.
We've been saying that for a long time. It's not the dice, it's you.
It probably is at this point. Just to kind of, I guess we should probably wrap this whole damn thing up because we've been rambling on for no reason for 45 minutes up till now.
Okay.
But is there anything you think that trash army of yours is missing? Is it missing just more trash? Have you thought about taking out like one of the units of Beast Cab just to try and make something? You don't want 18 drops?
What am I going to trade it for? I'm going to trade it for like I could upgrade the militia to foot knights probably. Great. Except they're still just going to die. That's their job. So it doesn't really gain me anything except losing one of the punch units that I need to clear pass and clear danger units off the board or shut down shooting, which is terrifying for my defense 3 army. Because my archers are also defense 3. So my army dies to shooting.
They stand out way too goddamn well to some of the things that they should not.
Yeah. So I could trade Beast Cav for like what? I'm maxed out on hero unlocks, so I can't really take anything else. And I need the Beast Cav actually to unlock because only the Beast Cav and the archers unlock. Nothing else unlocks. So I have to take an unlocking unit or upgrade the militia to unlocking units, which, there's no point.
Well, what about just, something that popped into my mind, like taking the flying Beast Cab over like a nimble, quick, just regular unit of the cab. You're still like Pathfinder. No?
So let's look at that quickly then. Because the Beast Cav, yes, they are not cheap. They are, when you kit them out and you give them everything that they need to succeed, which is flying, Thunder 1, Vicious, Indomitable Will, they come out at 280 points. So they're not cheap. But if you were to look at...
That's still cheaper than just a regular unit of like Draken.
It's not bad. So you could look at Mounted Sergeants. They are unlocking, so that's great. A regiment of them is 150 points. They're speed 9, so that's worse. They're nimble, which is some ways better. They're only Thunder 1. They're melee 4. They're defense 4. They're 14 attacks. They're 13, 15 nerve. 14 and you cannot give them Indomitable.
No.
So less attacks, hitting worse, and wounding worse. Seems like a bad trade. Where's the regular knights? There's the regular knights. Regiment of them, 190 points. Worse nerve, less attacks. Melee 3, which is good. Defense 5, which is good. Headstrong, which is interesting on them. Weird. Thunder 2, which is worse than Crush 1, Thunder 1.
That's definitely true.
Speed 8, which is worse. Or you could take a horde of them, which is marginally better because you get a lot more attacks, but it's a horde of knights that you got to navigate across the board. Yeah, so I don't think there's anything better to take than the Beast Cav.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. like a horde of knights is just, it's way too wide. Like I know you did a Legion of Ogres at one point in time, and our buddy Smith loves. He's even got like one model up, which is absolutely insane. It looks gorgeous, but it's absolutely insane the fact that he actually
It's a
did that.
huge unit. Like, it's a huge footprint. The knights are even that little bit bigger than a Legion of Ogres. Like, it's a huge footprint to move around the board. It's too easy to get gummed up on stuff you don't want it to get gummed up on. Like, playing against that, I just put a wizard in front of it.
Yeah.
You got to spend your turn fighting a wizard because you can't turn around it.
Yeah, you can't do shit.
So, I mean, if I had the points to squeeze in the Monarch, he would be fun for this because you can. Well, he'd just be fun. You can give him melee, like you can give him Slayer as the upgrade, and you can give him Wings. He'd be what, 200, 300 points at that point. So it'd be like a 13 attack against stuff you want him to fight, which would actually make him worth taking, probably.
But again, you're still looking at the amount of drops that you care about in this list as opposed to anything else. I think that's the key to like a trash sort of a thing. Like if you
want to outdrop your opponent, so you can put your stuff where you want it. Yeah.
So if we're trying to build a trash list and we're trying to make it so that it does outdrop an opponent, are we thinking like 18, 19, 17 like drops? I mean, I guess the average drop right now is still like between 12 and 14, right?
Yeah. Average drop is still 12 to 14. The actual average is probably 12 because you still get some players playing really elite and taking 10, 11 drop lists. 12 is very common. So 12 gives me 5 units afterwards to deploy. So all 3 Beast Cav and either a wizard or 2 of the generals. Usually 2 of the generals. Sometimes 3 generals and 2 Beast Cav, right? If I want to put out some bait Beast Cav and see if you'll go for it and deploy where I want you to deploy. Anything less than that, and if you're only 1 or 2 drop advantage, it's not really enough to make it worth spending that much money on garbage.
Yeah, so I still think the drop advantage gets better with 1, the player, and 2, like, and your plan. Like if when you go up to a table, I know that like as good as you are, like you come up and you go, okay, this is what I'm trying to do. But you don't like to show your hand to begin with. So having the extra drops in the beginning is actually quite good.
The extra drops allow me to deploy in the way that I think is funniest, where I will just be like, I'll just put a wizard over here. I'll just put this guy over there. I guess I'll put archers here. And if you make it seem very casual, the trap is, underneath someone before they're like, oh, wait a minute, I'm in danger.
I shouldn't have taken that drink. Oh no, this lollipop is...
I should not have put my important unit over here to counter his useless units, and then he's gonna. Oh no, yeah.
So the only thing you're kind of worried about at the moment, like much like me, I mean, I am not worried about like the whole shooting list thing.
Mass shooting is a problem for it, yeah.
But is there any mass shooting at this point in time? I mean, we're supposed to be in the Northeast. I mean, isn't that sort of our meta, or used to be at one point in time?
Used to be. But we play with big terrain up here too, which helps mitigate.
You mean proper size terrain?
Total gunline lists. And they're just, sure, yeah, however you want to interpret it. The dwarves, I think, do the best gunline right now, but most people don't want to play the dwarf gunline. They want to play dwarves that are defense 6 that come in and fight, which is great. It's also more fun. So,
but do dwarf count as being a gunline with all the throne masses? I think we had this discussion.
No, I don't view that as a gunline because you get one crack at that. Right. And if you let someone just maul you to death with their throwing dogs, then the mistake is probably on your side of the table.
Yeah.
Because we play into them all the time. And sometimes you just got to sacrifice a unit. So put something up there. So he's like, well, I can move up and do a bunch of dogs onto it, and that'll probably do that. Sometimes you got to be okay to let something die. At the end of the game, everything is chaff. Put something in the way. Hope he wastes all his dogs. Hopefully he wastes all the dogs from all the units on the same target. That's ideal.
Yeah.
Because then he doesn't have them anymore. Or kill him before he uses them.
I have done that.
Yeah. Murder is the solution.
That's why we are in the murder garage. There's a reason.
If the enemy units are dead, they can't do what you're scared of.
This is absolutely true. Is there anything else like for a trash army that you would look at? Like, is there
goblins? Goblins are the best trash army. They're the best because
Well,
you can just take so many of them.
So if you like, but I mean, also just okay, yes, goblins, but like backed up by if you're taking the trash army that you're taking right now, like are you overly worried about what your hero choices are and that sort of thing? Like
What,
right
for
now,
mine?
yeah, well, even for any trash army, I mean, the fact that your guys are very inspiring kind of helps the fact that
Oh, it helps big time because I can leave them kind of lingering or loitering around for a bit, especially early game, to prevent spike nerve checks on a couple of wounds from shooting or something, and it keeps all the garbage in the game that extra turn.
Yeah. So really, but like goblins don't have that sort of an additional thing. Like I don't
No,
think
but they also get like 5 more drops, so who cares?
this is true. All right. Well, I think we rambled on for long enough now. Hopefully, there's some useful stuff inside that. And hopefully, the next time we do one of these things, Ray will actually, come to gain some insight and not just be you and me. Well, you.
Nah, we'll
spewing
find
out
him at some
some-
point. He's lost
We'll just
somewhere
keep
in St.
recording
Thomas.
stuff. Yeah. I'll just keep recording things without him, and then he'll have to post them.
Yeah. See, it works perfect.
That's the way we do things. Anyway, great to talk to you, mate.
Pleasure as always.
I'll see you Saturday.
Yep, I'll be there with my
All
trash.
right. Oh, I hope so. Maybe I'll have a Abyssal Dwarf army to give a try to as well.
I think you should. Got to get ready for Masters.
God damn it! Now I kind of want to play it.
Do it.
All right, dude.
All right. Talk to you later.
Set off for now, people.
Bye.